Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about the Sasuraibito tarot deck by Stasia Burrington. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. That makes sure that you get notifications when new episodes come out, as well as support the podcast in that way to push it to the top so other folks can make sure that they check it out as well. I would love for you to join my newsletter list, and if you do so, you will get my free 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, just for my lovely listeners. I know that we are near the end of 2025 right now, but how interesting will it be to do a spread on the year and to do a more reflective look back on it, or maybe even there's an aspect of what do I need to know going forward, and that type of thing. So you can get that for free by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. I am looking for 1 to 2 more guests to be on the podcast before the end of 2025. If you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, please fill out my form to be a guest on the podcast or email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with their name or contact information. If you're local and you want to meet me in person, you can join us for our last full moon circle of 2025 on December 7th. Celebrate the glow of the full moon together with me and my colleague Izzy for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. So tickets for our December 7th event are up now. And you can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, well, welcome to season 19, where I'm talking all about different decks and how to use them. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. I just wrapped up season 18 on color magic, where I do an intro and then I go through different colors and talk about how to incorporate those into your daily lives, into your spells, into your glamour magic, etc. And like I said, here we are in season 19, kicking off with our first episode where I'm talking about different decks and how to use them. So today I'm talking about the first deck I got, the Sasuraibito tarot deck. So for each episode for this season, I'm going to go through the style of the deck, where did I get it, any changes from the Rider-Waite-Smith format. I'll talk about the imagery of the deck, what I like to use it for, and anything I wouldn't use it for. I'll have, of course, the link for you to buy or check out the deck if you're interested. And then we'll do a card pull at the end to see what message the deck has for us today. So, like I said, I am talking about the Sasuraibito tarot deck by Stasia Burrington. This is a very well-loved deck by me. The tarot deck guidebook is peeling on the outside. It's like a laminated plastic, which is nice, but yeah, the lamination is coming off, but still in fairly good condition. My deck box still looks quite lovely, actually. It's got some dents and things like that, but there is that. So this is a tarot deck, so that's the style. It probably is my most traditional Rider-Waite-Smith formatted deck, I would say, although the imagery is very different from the Rider-Waite-Smith look. This deck is a lot more modern, Buddhist, Pacific Northwest in its imagery on the cards, and then the imagery kind of on the back or on the box is, I would say, like dark, kind of goth. There's the like death moth on the back, as well as like some bones. It's red and black and gray on the back, and the cards on themselves are all framed with a black frame. They have a very nice, title of the card at the bottom. and they actually spell out the numbers instead of using Roman numerals, which I greatly appreciate, because lots of people have a hard time with Roman numerals, and so I do like that. They do put the Roman numerals, for the major arcana cards, but of course you don't necessarily need to know the numbers for that one as much. And yeah, so where did I get this deck? Like I said, this is my first deck. I should look it up. I got it at like a boutique clothing store in Seattle when I lived downtown. It was probably on somewhere between 1st and 3rd Avenue, down in kind of like Belltown, downtown area, if you know Seattle at all. Yeah, there was a store, like a clothing boutique store I used to walk by, and it had a lot of handmade clothing, and they actually had, I think, like, you could go and get measured there, or like look at fabrics or stuff like that. Like, I think they would like make clothes tailored to you. Often if you do that, right, the clothes are fairly expensive. So I definitely remember like walking by the store. I used to walk by it on my way to work when I worked downtown on 3rd Avenue. And I used to kind of get coffee in a place around there. And I just was very drawn to the store. And I kind of did not know why. That's like how it felt for a long time. I went in it. I, of course, was kind of like, oh, I like these clothes, but like, ooh, high price tag, like, I don't think I can afford that necessarily at that time. I love buying a lot of handmade, hand printed or, sewn clothes now. At the time that felt very out of reach. I remember they had some jewelry in there, and I'm pretty sure I bought some earrings at some point for like a friend's birthday or something like that. Like, I kept going in the store. Like I said, I didn't usually buy anything while there. But this was I think this was like the only deck they had in there. Again, they had clothes, they had like some jewelry, probably some other like handmade things from local artists. And then, yeah, I saw this deck probably a couple times, like I said, but it wasn't like there's a collection of decks or anything like that. It was just this particular one that was there. And yeah, I don't think I really knew, I don't know what I knew about tarot at the time. I don't know if I was looking for a deck or anything. The deck is actually, like, the cover page inside is signed, so that's very cool. And they are, so Stasia, Burrington, on the intro, it says, the 78 card deck is inspired loosely by the Rider-Waite deck, contemporary living in the Pacific Northwest, and Japanese and Buddhist ideas. The Japanese word Sasuraibito most closely translates to wanderer. It's an older literary term that is falling out of use, meant to describe a person ever seeking, searching for a place of healing and refuge. This deck is designed to accompany the curious, wandering querent, and then it's signed. So yeah, it was a local artist. You can check out they're just Stasia Burrington tarot.com or Sasuraibito tarot.com. You can check out or like their artist website. And I really like the deck. It was a good first deck. Like I said, I don't actually have any of the like Rider-Waite Smith like traditional decks. I am not drawn to the yellowness of it all. I know there are some that sort of have like a different color tone, so perhaps one day I will get them, but this is probably, like I said, my most traditional one, and it's not very traditional. I mostly just mean that they adhere to the format, they don't change any of the names of the major arcana cards or of the like page, knight, queen, king things. And like I said, right, the author, the artist says. So this person wrote the book and the cards. That is not always how it works. A lot of times people that write the book are different than the illustrator. And I will try to reference both of those as I talk about all of the decks. But in this one, they did it all. So it's a very cohesive deck as well. And it has, like I said, it has a dark tone to kind of like the back imagery, like kind of goth, also modern. It has like very modern looking people, like multicolored hair people. It's not all white people. What else? There's kind of like more androgynous, non-binary looking folks. And yeah, just like the clothes people wear, and the imagery is just like a more modern take on it. So I do like that. Also, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and so like I remember I love the hermit card in this deck because it's like a lone hiker, like kind of perched on the side of a mountain, which is definitely like the vibe here. Most people hike in some capacity and enjoy the outdoors and want to leave the city and go explore on weekends or things like that. And so that's very cool. There's also a lot of like coffee, tea culture in this deck. I like that. And like I said, there's kind of like a diversity of people representation, which is also very nice. Yeah, what else do I want to say? I think that's mostly about the imagery aspect. I talked about where I got the deck. Yeah, so there's no real changes from the Rider-Waite-Smith formatting. Like I said, it's more modern. It's like Buddhist and Pacific Northwest in more of its imagery, but that doesn't change the format necessarily. I like to use it so it has really good descriptions of card imagery. I'll just like go to a random page here. Let's see if I can find one where they say, like in this particular one, the author and artist will sometimes say like, this is why I drew it like this, or like this is sort of the traditional. So here's one for temperance. They don't necessarily say this is how they did it, but they say the card commonly shows a hermaphroditic angel showing a balance between genders and pouring liquid from one vessel to another, sometimes water into wine, sometimes cold water into hot. This is a blending or synthesis of opposites. They always have the reversal definition, and then they have quotes in here, at least for the major arcana cards, which is very nice. It gives kind of like an additional... I'll read one that's in here. So for the Sun, it says, the quote is, "Life is so damn short, for fuck's sake, just do what makes you happy," by Bill Murray. So they're sort of like, they pull a quote that kind of like has to do, you know, with the vibe of the card. And again, right, that's some more like modern language, I would say. I'm still trying to find a card in here that talks, where they speak sort of like in the first person, about what they chose to draw. But I do like that aspect of, well, it feels like the artist, right, sort of speaking to you in that sense. And just sometimes, I don't know, I have decks that like, they're good descriptions of like what the card embodies, but they don't necessarily like speak to the imagery on the card, like perhaps because the artist is separate from, you know, like, or the author who wrote the deck book has another person that did the art, or just they didn't choose to do that. Oh, here's one. Okay, so for the Eight of Wands, it says, "I choose to portray these wands as arrows, fast flying and true to their aim. This card to me illustrates being in the zone. Once your foundation is strong and your muscles practice, you can act with efficiency and without effort." So, right, that's an example where they sort of like explain why they chose certain imagery, which I think is very cool. For the like anything I wouldn't use this deck for, I don't know, it's pretty versatile to me. Like I said, it's my first deck, so when I, you know, first started reading tarot cards for myself and for others, like this is definitely what I'm most familiar with. This summer I took this deck when I went and presented at Enchanticon, like a fantasy convention in St. Louis, Missouri, and I did a talk on divination and tarot in the Harry Potter series while I was there. And afterwards, folks, you know, after my talk came in, like chatted with me, which is very cool. And someone asked about the deck in particular, and then when they came over, they were like, "Oh, it has like very strong energy." And I was like, oh, well, you know, it's my oldest deck. Like, it's probably been with me since like 2018. And yeah, it's where I feel like I learned kind of my foundation of tarot. And it's still in very good condition. Like I said, you know, the inside of the book is still very good, like, put together. So I appreciate that too. It has the gilded edges and, you know, thick stock cards. Like, that's really nice too. Some decks just don't necessarily have that lasting, or maybe like this box is also very like strong. It's like red on the inside, which is very cool, again with the death moth on it. And yeah, it has Japanese script on the side as well, which is cool. It just gives a particular vibe to the deck. But oh, and it says love, lore, lust, lost. It's like on the outside of the box, the smaller box that kind of the cards go into, and then the other one says printing 2. So this is the second edition, Sasuraibito Tarot, Sasuraibitotarot.com, and then it has, yeah, Stasia Burrington's name on it, and definitely the cover of the box is like, it's been thrown in many a purse and bag, so it's actually a little bit worn down, but it still looks pretty good, very legible and everything. So I recommend. And yeah, I guess like sometimes it's not my first choice for I have another deck that is a very like gentle deck, the Anima Mundi Tarot deck by Megan Wyrewenden. It has animals in it mostly. I feel like that one's very approachable for people that don't know anything about tarot. If I'm reading for like a family member or someone that like is like, that's cool, you read tarot and I want you to read for me, but like I don't know anything about it. But I feel like this deck's, it's still very like approachable, and the colors are very like vivid and descriptive, I would say. Like it has a lot going for it, I would say. So I don't really have any challenges with that aspect of it. And usually if I read for others and like I'm sort of like posted up with like multiple decks, I let people pick what deck speaks to them. So sometimes the imagery on the outside of the box is what they kind of like go for. All right, so yeah, I guess that's sort of ending on that one. Like I said, it's sort of my most traditional style deck, at least in the Rider-Waite-Smith kind of like category. I am going to go ahead and pull a card about what message does the deck have for us today. I was just going to go to Stasia Burrington's website. I think they actually have a new tarot deck, the Yukika Tarot is available. It was on Kickstarter, and it's very vivid and a very different look to the deck. And putting together a deck, a 78 card deck with art, is like very time consuming, like years for most people. So yeah, you can go to StasiaBurringtonArt.com, and they actually have a picture of every single card in this deck, which is like amazing because a lot of places it's really hard to find that. They talk about their new tarot deck. They have a children's illustration. I think they've done some books. They have a Patreon. So there's lots of other ways you want to support. You can support them if you want. If you don't need another tarot deck, but you want to see, a lot of folks put their decks on Etsy, or just like when they make art, they have, yeah, some art notepads or like stickers or other things that they've made some of their imagery into, like patches or stickers and stuff. So if you want a cheaper way to contribute to the artist or just check out their Etsy, I can link that in the show notes as well. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pull a card from this deck. I'm gonna try to ask it a specific question. Okay, well, I had a card just fly out. So, I got the Three of Swords. Interesting. I sort of had this question in my mind of like, why did this deck come to me? And so the Three of Swords is about heartbreak, pain, and sadness, feeling wronged or stabbed in the back, hurt. This card carries feelings of great loneliness, suffering, rejection, betrayal, separation, and disappointment. You may feel lost and surprised by the pain. The Three of Swords can represent a wrong being done to you or the possibility of you hurting others. Are you hurt, or do you wield the blades? So yeah, I like don't even really know when I got this deck. So I was trying to think about like what that time period was like for me. I know I had kind of like switched jobs. I was working in downtown Seattle at a nonprofit that I enjoyed. But I was definitely like the year after, like in 2019 is when I started graduate school to become a therapist. So I would definitely say it was like a transition time for me. And I think it was like right around my solar return, like around when I was trying to think if that's right, about 27, a little after that. But yeah, and then, you know, reversed, it's about forgiveness, healing, understanding, and moving on. So I'm not totally sure what this card's about today, but perhaps, you know, that's, oh my gosh, the book just flew out of my hand. That was how I was feeling at the time, and maybe why I needed, right, some tarot or this deck in particular. All right, well, thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on the podcast. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. If you haven't joined my newsletter, you should do that and get my free 5-card 2025 tarot spread PDF to do that spread for yourself. And yeah, you can always email me, like I said, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. And I will see you soon. All right, bye-bye.